Hey everyone, it's Melissa here with Sincerely Creative Mom. I am creating one of our kits today. The kit came with our cute watercolory sign. Look at that watercolor sign. It's so cute with like the watercolor spots. This is one of my favorite St. Patrick's Day signs. And then I paired it with a very sparkly tinsel edge glitter shamrock for our tails, and then of course the buffalo plaid to match very nicely. I matched it with a very nice green and white check mesh, and then of course we have 3 ribbons that are going to make our bow. Very nicely coordinated here. I love all the colors. Bringing it all in the black and white even through the bow. Totally love it. So we're going to cut our mesh. We're going to add our pipe cleaners, add our mesh, add our ribbons, add our sign, create our bow, and then we'll be all finished. So if you purchased this kit, thank you very much for purchasing the kit. If you didn't purchase the kit, stick around. You can still learn so many things from this tutorial. So the first thing I did was I've already gone ahead and cut my ribbon tails just to make this video go a little bit quicker. Now if you purchase this as a kit, your ribbon comes kind of coiled like this. So it's folded over just like this. Now this one is for the bow, so don't cut this one. But the ribbon tails are coiled just like this as well. Just take a quick measurement just to be sure that they're 15 inches or 14 inches or just a little bit over. If they're a little bit over, it's totally fine. And then all you're going to do is kind of open that up, take your scissors, here's my scissors, and cut. Okay, now don't cut this one. This one's for your bow. But when you're talking about the ribbon tails, the 2.5 inch ribbons you should have 12. It should be wound 12 times. So the shamrocks and the plaid. Okay, so just cut those just like that. Make it quicker. I wouldn't individually cut them. Just takes way too long. And if you just cut them that way, they might be a little varied in size. Also 100% okay. The overall design in the end, you will not notice that they are maybe slightly different sizes. The last thing I'm going to tell you to do to prep your ribbon is fold it in half, take your scissors, cut on the fold, and cut up towards that edge. That gives you a nice kind of V-shaped finish here. Looks real polished around the edges. Really, really cute. So then I take my favorite ribbon, which is of course the shamrocks, pair it on top of the plaid and fold it to find the center. Here's where I'm going to tell you again, doesn't have to be extremely perfect. You don't want one shooting up out of nowhere, but it doesn't matter if they're not exactly all lined up, okay? In fact, I think the variation looks actually really nice when it isn't all exactly perfect. So I already prepped those. I'm going to set them aside. What I'm doing here is I wanted to show you our mesh first before I go further. So your kit comes with the 14-inch frame as well as the 10-inch frame and the sign extender, okay? So it comes all together. I specifically want to point out that I've already cut 6 pieces off this, and those 6 pieces I'm gonna set aside and save for my 10-inch frame for a later date. You don't have to do this if you're working this with a kit or whichever. You don't have to do that, but I want to be able to use the biggest pieces, the pieces that are most expandable, the pieces that were on the outside of this roll for my 10-inch frame. So I'm going to go ahead and set those aside. So these were the first 6 that came off there, 20 inches long. All of them are 20 inches. I'm just going to set them aside, and I have them in a special little container that's just for my 10-inch that I kind of save. Okay, so that's set aside and done. Now we have mesh to cut for our actual design. Excuse me. I'm going to use a nice rotary cutter, okay? Nice and new, fresh against my good cutting mat here, and I'm going to make sure when I cut them I apply pressure, okay? So I'm going to roll it out 20 inches. I'm going to apply pressure, following along that 20-inch mark right there. I'm going to apply pressure. Now the next 6 pieces that I cut are going to go toward my outside 6 twist ties, okay? Outside 6 twist ties. Now, specifically, I am cutting 20 inches long. Now the roll of mesh comes from the manufacturer. Obviously, I don't make the mesh. And it comes in 10-yard rolls. Sometimes it is a little short. So if you're planning to do what I'm doing here by using the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, by using the whole roll, first 6 cuts go to the 10-inch, next 6 cuts go to the outside inch, and then the last 6 are going to go to the inside. You may want to consider not cutting exactly on the 20-inch mark, maybe 19.5, just because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the roll is a little bit short. Drives me crazy, nothing I can do about it, but to get my full supply, my full 2 bases out of this one roll, if I'm going to do that, I cut them just a little tiny bit short. Okay, just a little tiny bit. So I'm going to save this. We're going to use that for the inside, but I'm going to save that so we can cut it all together. So let's put these aside and we're going to get to work. All right, our frame, beautiful, lovely, easy to use. We're going to use green pipe cleaners. We're going to use our green pipe cleaners, and we're just going to add them into the whole base, right where the hole and the notch match. Now, one small tip that I do it's a small tip, but it's a big difference. So when I'm adding our pipe cleaners, I'm adding and making sure that the twist is near the notch. So the hole matches the notch, perfect. And I'm going to make sure I twist that little guy. You can see right out here towards the notch, not inside, not in the middle. Now, what that does is it creates a little extra spacing between where your ribbons are going to be. So this outside layer is going to be here, this outside layer is going to start here. So it's going to give that extra kind of 2-finger spacing when you're looking at your layers overall. So one thing that I see when people are texting or messaging me or emailing me asking, hey, you know, why does mine look different than yours? I try to give a brief, real quick and easy, soft response, and typically the ribbon tails are either completely overlapping each other, or, and you'll see this when we add the ribbons are touching. Like, for example, both buffalo plaids are touching, both those shamrocks are touching. So 2, you know, quick little tips there to help your overall design. Now, I make and sell these wreaths. So I have the finished product, as well as this particular one was offered as a kit, this being the instructional video to it. So, you know, I know several different little tiny tricks that kind of had added up over the years that help the overall impact. Okay, so here we are, super cute. We have our lucky, adorable. We got our green and white mesh coming. It is going to be super cute. So we're going to add our mesh. Now remember, 20 inches long, okay? And we're going to ruffle. This is going to be real nice and easy because there's that white kind of line that goes up the center. So I'm going to ruffle right up the center as best as I can, keeping my eye going right up the center and making sure at this point I'm not just grabbing the rest. You do want to make sure that you are scrunching up all the way to the end. And then for the pancake wreath, I'm going right on top. Now, notice, I called it a pancake wreath. The end of this result is going to be still about 23, 24 inches wide, but very slim, with the intent to fit between a main door and a storm door or screen door. Okay, so I'm just going to tuck those up underneath there and ruffle those under. Now, not exactly round and not exactly flat, but you get the point. So we're trying to make it so that it fits between the doors, most doors. Now, I realize that spacing varies, of course. It varies depending on your what year your house was even built in. Some of them don't have very much room in between at all. And some of them have a foot. So a little different variation there. I'm just going to overlap these, overlap the top, snuggle it up underneath there, keeping my inner pipe cleaners kind of still visible, and then making those go inside out. Okay, this is a really pretty mesh. Now, let's talk about the mesh for just a second. You know, the quality of your mesh does matter. How you cut your mesh does matter. Now, due to, I'm talking about and focusing on fraying. So, it's a woven material. It is going to fray. It's for sure going to fray. Look at that. It's for sure going to fray. Some mesh, even super great quality mesh, will fray more than others. It drives me crazy. It's a woven material. We just have to keep that in mind. Our job as a creator, even if you're DIYing, put this on your own door, our job is to conceal that as best as we can and add things or put it in such a way that you don't see the fraying, because it is going to be there. Your job, my job, is to conceal it, hide it, camouflage it, whatever word you want to use, okay? So I'm going to overlap those. Now remember, on top of this, I'm putting ribbon. I got something poking me. I got ribbon coming on top of this. I have a sign coming on the top in the center. I have a bow coming. I have another layer, by the way. So our job, again, to conceal it. Now, the more you play with it, the worse it's going to be. If I let go of this, okay, and then try to do it again and redo it, it's going to fray even more. So if this is your very first time buying a kit, or your very first time using mesh, if you're using your own mesh, cut a piece and just practice. It's okay to do that, you know, especially if it's your very first time, just so that you kind of get the muscle movement, the feel for it. You know, I've made thousands of these ruffles. I couldn't even tell you how many. So I've had a lot of practice, right? But you want to get your muscle, your movement in your fingers. Now, one other tip is, it might look like it, but I'm using my fingertips, not my fingernails, to pull that up towards me, just so I can kind of grip it and pull it. If I use my nails, I find that I'm just grabbing more of the mesh, and I want it to be little tiny pieces so that it stays little tiny here and expands just like it has been, okay? Now notice very nicely with the expansion here on these ruffles being, again, that this was the second set of 6 off the roll. We still have what we need left here, hopefully. Sometimes it varies. So let me get this out of the way. Here we go. All right. Now, if you are in the coaching group, I actually just recorded, and it'll post later in January, but I actually just recorded a really good in-depth tutorial. I think I did just the base, and just the base with the mesh, I think took me 20 or 25 minutes. So I went through a lot of detail for that. Just little tips. So in the coaching group, you know, normally we do larger, well, I don't do pancake wreaths per se in the coaching group. I might use the frame, but I don't do pancake wreaths inside the group. So just lots of different tips on the mesh and adding the mesh. All right, so here we are with our ribbons. We're going to add 2.5 inch ribbons. Again, they are 14 inches long. They're 2.5 inches wide. And I just took my favorite and put it on the top. Remember, I already dovetailed those edges, and I folded it so I could find the center. So just unfold and then crunch it up, scrunch it up, ruffle it up, whatever you want to call it. And then make sure all those edges are out facing towards you. So in this design, you're not going to see anything that ends up in the center. You want it all to come out towards the edge, because our bow and our sign is going to cover that center. So we're just going to, for a second, they're not going to stay like that. We're just going to, for a second, put them all in, face them towards us. Now, if you put them in where they're folded like this and they're facing out towards us, they're probably going to stay facing out towards us. If you put them in there kind of just going side to side, like just like this, right, that won't, the pleat and everything gets kind of stuck into your pipe cleaner like that, like how you put it. So, you know, it's more likely to not expand the way we want them to. Now, also, I'm going to point out here, I know it's non-stop talking, but well, there's lots of details. I'm going to point out here that you see how easy it was to just go from my mesh to my ribbon because I already had them pre-cut and ready to go. So it's nice to pre-cut everything ahead of time. Okay, pre-cut everything ahead of time and just kind of go with the flow. As you're going to see here in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to stop and cut our second round of mesh just because I didn't want to have to move it back and forth and all over for this video. But, you know, that kind of breaks up the flow, which, you know, sometimes is a pain. All right, so we have all of those on and secure. Now, I left them like that for one reason. Number one, I only want to pick up my wire cutter twice during this design, so I'm not picking it up 12 times. Makes my timing go a little bit quicker, especially when you're making, like today, I think I have 8 wreaths on the docket for today that I have to be done and recorded and done and over with. And so it makes it go a little bit quicker. And I'm just cutting those off. I don't need them. They're just extra. I could twist them and hide them, but why? Just don't need to do that. So I just cut it off. You could just push them in the center because you're, again, not going to see anything that ends up in the center. But to make it a little bit more clean, easy for the video, I just cut them off. All right, all I'm going to do is push this little guy in and pull this up and down and side to side apart. Okay, very important. Up and down, pull it apart, side to side, pull it apart, so that all of your ribbons end up being seen. You can see all of them. Okay, you can see all of them from the outside. I want to see every single little teeny tiny penny that I put into those as best as I can. This is why I always put my favorite on the top. Not that that second layer of ribbon gets completely covered, but you are covering it up a little bit, and that top layer is going to be what you see the most. So that's why I always say I put my favorite on the top. Now, my favorite could be, I could be working, typically I do 2.5 inch ribbons, but I could work with a 1.5 inch and a 2.5 inch. Now, if my favorite is the 2.5 inch, I'm still putting it on top of that 1.5 inch. I'm still doing that. I want to see that favorite one the most. I'm just putting those in, pushing them in. Crisscross, or lift it up and down. Missing up my words. Always make sure you are pulling them up and down and side to side. You want to make sure that they are, because they're pleated and ruffled together, you want to make sure that they come apart and become their own ribbon again. Okay, and everything is facing out towards the edge. Perfect. All right, now we're going to cut our last 6. We're going to say a little positive vibe here, making sure that these are going to be enough. So we need 6 more pieces. Again, I did start cutting about 19.25 or 3/4, 19.5, not quite 20 inches, just in case. Listen, sometimes, you know, it's okay to be vary. It's okay to vary. Perfect. I have just a little bit left over. So it could have been a little bit short on one. So I'm glad I started cutting them a little bit short. Now, look at how small, tightly wound that piece is, right? Very different from the others, especially that first 6. Now, hold on. I've got it right here. Especially that first 6. Now you see why. Look at that. This just has its own expansion going on. It has its own, you know, I'm going to be real big. And this one is like, no, I want to be, put me back to the roll. I want to be back there. So this is going to do what I want it to easier. This one would be really hard and it would curl up and not look the same as if this piece. So now you know why I save these for the 10-inch frame. Or you could put those in the outer, but this part, these last 6, you definitely want to be able to put in on the inside of our 14-inch frame, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same. I'm going to get these out of the way because they're taking up the space. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same and put it right on top. I'm going to follow that. Now this is like the last piece. So this is the perfect piece to start with. This is the last piece. Nice and small here. So I'm going to unravel. Now look, big time fray. Okay, big time fray. It's all right. It's going to be totally fine. Going to ruffle right up that center. Pushing it right out, not grabbing the whole thing, just right all the way out. Now look how different we are talking here. That is really kind of curling in. I'm just going to go right on top, not moving anything out of the way. I'm just going to go right on top. And look what happens. The mesh, because you know it catches on everything, the mesh will grab on to all the pieces and all the material and supplies underneath it. And it will help, technically, actually, it'll help keep it in place on purpose. Whereas if I put it on the outside, there isn't anything underneath for it to grab onto, so it would just curl up. This has support underneath there that's helping it stay in place, right? So it's okay that I put these pieces right on that inside, even though this is clearly fraying more than the first layer. But again, we're gonna cover it up, and you're not gonna see that part, so it does not matter. So little details, but big reasons. Okay. And then just be gentle. And then again, once you have it in there and it's set and it's done, don't touch it. Just let it be. Okay, just let it be. Now, very good reason why I'm putting in this outside layer with the ribbons first and then moving to the inside. Because again, if I got to put my chunky little hands up there and start moving around that top layer of mesh to put my ribbons in, and number one, I'm going to have to reset the mesh because it's going to move. It's not going to be the way I want it. And number two, I'm going to be pushing on those edges and helping it fray. I don't want to do that. Right? Just put it right down in there, nice and easy. Crisscross. Twist, twist. Now, I come to you with literal years of experience. I've made, I don't know how many of these pancake wreaths, or for that matter, thousands of the ruffles, since there's 12 in each wreath. So I've had a lot of practice. It looks easier than it is as far as making sure it looks exactly like this. Just be patient, take your time. The frame does a lot of work for you, you know, with the spacing and the spots exactly for your twist ties, so you don't have to worry about that at all. And then also the frame, you know, if you weren't making this particular design, so for example, last week in the coaching group, I made a gigantic, beautiful, thick, 28 inches wide purple wreath with a cross and lots of florals. It was made on this frame, this exact frame. So I could add a whole bunch of weight to that frame and it be totally fine because it's nice and sturdy. It's a good foundation. And all while, by the way, keeping a fairly friendly, budget-friendly base with that 12 twist tie recipe, right? So I was only putting in 12 pieces of the mesh and all the, all the things that I was putting in, I was doing in numbers of 12, right? Or 6. Made it for a beautiful, thick, gorgeous wreath that sold, by the way, right away. As it should. It was gorgeous. but still, you know, very different look. So these frames aren't just for this particular design. You can do so many things on it. There we go. Cute. Now, this did cover up some of that ribbon. I'm not going to touch the ribbon. I'm not going to touch the ribbon. I'm not going to touch the ribbon. Touch the ribbon at the very end. But this did cover up some of that ribbon. You're going to see that next layer of ribbon go right in, right on top. And it's going to start a really nice looking layer that helps it make so full, gives it another dimension. It just does so much with that second layer. It's really nice. And now you're starting to see why we want that pipe cleaner on the inside to go closer to the notch on the inside and the outside to go closer to the notch on the outside. So it's letting there be more room here between those, the spacing between the ribbons, between those layers. I got pretty far into this video without forgetting my words. That's pretty good for me. If you're just watching for the very first time, I forget my words a lot. It's fine. Words are hard. Words are hard. I'm just going to keep putting those in. We'll fluff them all at once. Okay, all, again, facing out towards me. Now we are creating a nice big center that looks very unfinished, like what is going to go there. Don't worry, our bow and our sign are going to go right there, nice and easy. You can totally do this. You can totally do this. Now, I am moving along. I realize I'm trying to move along fairly quickly, even though the video is in total pretty long. But I'm trying to move quickly. So, you know, don't think you have to go at this pace. If you're doing this as a kit, you can pause it, slow down, catch up, play it again. If you're just trying to learn, pause it, practice. Try it, try it again. Cut another piece. Try it again. We're going to make the bow here in just a minute. Pause it. Make your loop. Make your layer. If you didn't do it right, keep it paused. Try it again, right? There we go. And then we're going to just cut off the excess. Now again, I could very well just fold those in. I'm not going to see it. That sign's going to go on top. My bow's going to go on top. You're not going to see it. But just for the sake of teaching and having it be kind of a cleaner look to see what we're doing, and let's be real, I'm a little OCD, so that helps it calm me a little bit. Now there's one last tip that I've found myself doing that has been like just a second nature that I should probably share with y'all. Okay, this last part I've been doing, I didn't even realize I was doing it. So I want to see those layers as best as I can, right? And what I found doing is that when I push this down, I'm actually pushing it in a little bit. So I'm taking that pipe cleaner and just kind of pushing it in, which it sucks that in a little bit, creating, again, a little bit more of the layer out here. So I've been doing that kind of second nature. You see, that just kind of brought it in just a little bit more, and it kind of lifted them a little bit. We're still going to do the separate thing, and because these pieces are these ties are a little closer together than the outside, right? It's going to get a little congested in here, but that's totally okay. Okay, so we're going to push down a little bit. I just didn't even notice I was doing that. Push it down and forward just a little bit, and then still apart and apart, up and down apart, side to side apart. I didn't even realize I was doing it, and then I was like, I knew why I was doing it. I knew I was, I just didn't realize, I don't know. It's fine. I'm telling you now. Now, will your design look horrible if you don't do that? No, it'll look just fine. I was just, you know, doing it just to see a little bit more of that outside layer. Now, you might be thinking, well, why didn't you just make the outside, ribbons longer? I'll tell you why. If I cut 14-inch, first of all, this was a kit, but if I'm doing it by myself and I'm making my own, which is where the recipe came from, which I'm going to stick to because it's tried and true and I love it, and it's for a lot of reasons, and budget included. So if I stick to the 14 inches, I know that out of one roll of ribbon, one 10-yard roll of ribbon, I can get 2 pancake wreaths. So out of this roll of ribbon, let's say it was a 10-yard roll, if I cut 12 pieces for this wreath at 14 inches long, I have enough to make another full pancake wreath, 14-inch tails, and I think I have just a little tiny bit left over sometimes. So if I make the outside layer longer, I lose the ability to duplicate and have what's left on the roll give me another full wreath, right? Which is why it all ties in together, which is why I'm able to price my wreaths the way I do on a consistent basis, because I know out of that 10-yard roll, I'm going to be able to get 2. Now, again, this is a kit, so it's a little different, but when I'm doing it for myself and I'm you know, measuring and planning out and designing all that stuff, I know I'm going to have enough left on this roll to make another one. So it kind of plays into my pricing also. Y'all, if you haven't yet, I do have a pricing class available. I didn't tell you all that to tell you this, but I do, it made me think about it. I do have a pricing class available that walks you through all of my ways and tricks and thinking and all the stuff about pricing. If you go to melslinks.com, MELSLINKS, melslinks.com, you'll find a pricing class, a pricing link there, and it'll walk you all the way through. Again, it's just the way I do it, right? It's not the, you know, necessarily the right way or the wrong way, or who knows if there is a right or wrong way. It's the way I've been able to be successful selling my designs on a regular basis. Okay, so end rant, end tip, end whatever. Okay, cute, right? Lots of layers here. Real pretty. We have the, you know, still slim look. I'm going to put my, also by kind of pushing in. Now remember, the 10-inch frame went on the inside. So I know the inside of the 14-inch is probably about 11 inches from side to side. Okay. So if I push that in a little bit, it's going to probably allow me to put this right on top and cover my pipe cleaners just like that. Okay. Just a little trick. Now you don't have to add a bow. We're going to, because bows sell wreaths. We know that as a tried and true for sure. Bows sell wreaths. So I know I'm going to add a bow to this, but if I wanted to put that cute little sign right in the center, I could do that. Okay. What we're going to do now, your kit comes with 2 of these. I'm personally not going to use them, but I'm going to show you what to do. Your kit comes with 2 of these zip tie mounts. I don't know where my other one went. So what you're going to do, if you don't have a staple gun, if you have a staple gun, hold tight, okay? So if you're going to use these, I would, number 1, make sure you have an extra adhesive just to enhance a little bit. You know, one time I had one of these fall off a metal sign once, and I've been paranoid ever since. So I try to think of different ways or additional ways to make you know, when it goes out the door, I'm feeling good about it. So I peel off the edge here. So all you're going to do is take off the backing. Take off the backing. You're going to take your glue and add just a teensy tiny bit. Teensy tiny bit. Teensy tiny. Little tiny bit. And then I'm going to put my zip ties, or my my fasteners on the side to side. So I'm going to put this up just a little bit just to show you. So I'm going to put that right there, nice and tight. And then I'm going to add my clamp. So I'm sorry, I should have showed you this at the very beginning. I'm going to add my clamp to help tighten it, secure it, wait till it dries, all those words. And that's a really tight clamp. It came from Harbor Freight. I can barely get my hands to squeeze it to open it. So I'm going to do both of that. If I'm using the zip tie mounts is what they're called, I'm going to put 2 right on each side. Okay, and I'm going to leave that on. So if you put this on in the very beginning, which I should have showed you, I'm super sorry. If you put this on in the beginning, by the time you're at this point, 35 minutes later or so, it should be good to go. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a staple gun. So I'm not going to use that part. Okay, but if you are using it, all you do is pull that through, twist it, and then you're going to put this right through the mesh. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because I like to be difficult, it's just my nature, I guess. I'm going to add with a staple gun, making sure my staples are good. I'm going to add my pipe cleaners with a staple gun. So my sign, not quite a 1/4 of an inch. Not quite a 1/4 of an inch. But my staples are a full 1/4 of an inch. So all I'm going to do is take the edge of this ribbon spool. Just save them or pull them out of the garbage. And I'm going to just cut 2 pieces for each side to kind of beef up the sign. Now I probably don't need 2, but I'm always afraid to try 1, so here we are at 2. And then I'm going to put my pipe cleaner here, and then my staple gun, I'm just going to warn you, doesn't really like me sometimes. It's getting old. I've put too many different sizes in there, and it's about had it with me, so it might take me a couple times. But all I'm going to do is take it and put it right over that pipe cleaner, push down, and attach. Okay, I didn't quite get it actually in there, so I'm going to try it again. Okay. Is that on the side? Twice the staple was good, and twice I didn't even get it on the front. Okay, Melissa, get it together. Sorry. There we go. Goodness gracious. Okay. And then just twist. Do the same thing to the other side. Let's hope I get it on the first try this time. Now, I don't know if you know this, but a pipe cleaner is 2 pieces of wire wound together, just like I'm doing here, all the way up, 2 pieces. And it never fails. It drives me absolutely crazy. These little stinking pieces get caught when on one little single tiny piece of that mesh, and it's always a pain. So when I'm without a kit, if I'm adding signs through mesh like this, I use a wire, okay, because it's just one piece of wire going all the way through. All right, so we have our cute sign. I'm going to put it up just a little bit. I lied. I think I'm going to put it down just a little bit so we can put our bow kind of right up there. I don't want to hide our lucky. I'm going to put it down a little bit. Make it a little tiny different. Or, well, I'm not going to attach it yet. Let's see how we do. Or I could put it on the side. All right. We have 1 pipe cleaner left. I have super bad carpal tunnel. I know you've probably heard me say that a million times, but it's still true. I haven't got it fixed because I'm afraid. And so I like to make the layers of the bow in my hands. However, I can't hold it all together at the same time and keep it because my hands kind of get cramped. So I use the Easy Bow Maker to help me. And then sometimes I use it the right way. Sometimes I don't. Either way, I always do use it. So we're going to start with our, again, this is a kit. It was a kit. So if you're making your kit, make sure you're following the lengths here so that you have enough ribbon for the bow. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm just going to dovetail that end just because it's a habit and I do that first. And then I'm going to make our tail 7 inches and our first loop 6 inches. First loop is 6 inches. Always, that's the same I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I pinch first. Pull those apart, just like we pulled apart the ribbons there. Pull them apart. Twist. Come make my second loop. I'm just going to eyeball it. Make sure it's about the same. Let me zoom you in here a little bit here. There we go. Eyeball it. Pinch. Okay. Twist. Loop. Pinch again. Now this bow has 2 loops and 2 loops on one side, 1 loop on the other side with 2 tails. Okay, so I'm going to put those in there, but every time I put a layer in, no matter how many layers I'm building, every time I put a layer in, I'm going to make those 2 loops go on opposite sides. This is a Lisa bow. When I very first started, my sweet, sweet friend Lisa, I watched her over and over and over again making bows, and it's her bow, it's her design, 2 loops, 2 tails, 1 loop. And then at the end, I just add an extra little loop to kind of hide our pipe cleaner. But I just watched her over and over and over and over and over again, you know, to learn. All right, here we go. I'm going to take this and cut the edges. Now, I love the black and white coming in here. I still have some black and white coming in the rest of the bow. I love it. The stripes, different than the buffalo plaid, but bringing in the black and white, love. Okay, we need our first one was 7 inches. So this one I'm going to make about 6 inches. Okay, and we're going to end up with a little bit more because the ribbon that we provided in the kit, I think, was all about 4.5 feet. So you're going to end up with a little bit left over, a little bit more left over. I'm going to do about 5.5 inches. Pinch. Twist. Loop. Pinch. Twist. Loop. Pinch. Twist. Now my 2 loops, these 2 are going on the opposite side, just for a good balance with that bow in the end when you're done. So I'm going to make sure, kind of take those and go crisscross, making sure that they are going where they need to go on opposite sides, really balancing out that bow. Also, in the creative coaching group, we do so many different designs, different bows. Sometimes we just have bow sessions. So again, if you're looking for a little bit more in depth, color, this was obviously very easy with the black and white and the green, black and white and the green. But if you're looking for, inspiration on matching colors and all those things, we talk about it all the time inside the group. If you're checking out and thinking about, improving your skill and improving, maybe going forward, maybe turning your hobby into a business, sell a little bit here and there, pay for a little extra vacation, just dropping seeds there, because I'm telling you, don't say it's impossible. Don't say it's impossible. But we do all sorts of really cool things in the group. If you're looking for just to read more about it, figure it out, and see what's going on about it, we're live 6 days a week. There's 7 coaches, I think, 8 of us, 7, 6. There's 6 of us. I don't know how many. There's a lot of us. We do so many different things, but you can check out Creative Coach Mel, M-E-L, creativecoachmel.com. Also, I have it posted in the description of this video. Okay, so for the last layer, we're going to do our tail. Okay, do our tail. And then remember I said 1 little loop I added. It's about 3 inches or so, just to cover up that pipe cleaner. And I'm going to pinch there and twist. Now that little extra loop does not count towards my 3 total loop count. Okay, so I'm just going to pretend it's not even there. It's just to help cover my pipe cleaner. So pinch, twist, loop, pinch, and twist. Now we have a tail on each side here, but we still have 2 loops on one side. So those 2 loops are going to go on the opposite. Now you see I have that pattern going, and I'm going to put these 2 loops going right here, right between the black and whites. Okay, that's the plan. So looking from the top, you want to see that, I lied, I'm going to put a tail right in the center there. But looking from the top of that bow, you want to see all those layers, right? So I can see the green, I can see the shamrocks, I can see the plaid, I can see the black and white, I can see all of the things, right? Okay, and we're just going to cut that off. Super duper cute. Now, for me, when I'm home by myself without a kit, I use a zip tie. Okay, the kit comes with a pipe cleaner just because it's, of course, easier, and the thing I was using for a very long time, but with my hands getting a little, little stinkers, I've been using pipe cleaners. So all I'm going to do, I'm sorry, zip ties. All I'm going to do is lift that off, and before I get to the top, I'm just going to pinch it so I can keep it in place. Add my pipe cleaner to the top. Do my very best to make sure it's nice and tight. Now, I know it's not as tight as I usually do just because I don't have the zip tie, but I'm going to do the best we can. Nice and tight. Twist, twist. Now, I don't need to twist too many times. 3 at the max. It's nice and tight. It's nice and tight. It's not going to, not going to anything. It's not going to fall apart. As long as it's nice and tight, okay? Then all I do is, you can see the pipe cleaner. I'm just going to take my, right up to the top. Okay. Spread that out just a little bit more. So I can see the whole bow all the way spread out. Just like that. Just absolutely adorable. Okay. Perfect. Okay. And then I'm just going to add it in to our, let's zoom you back out. Okay, now I get to place the bow and the sign at the same time. So, this is my longest part of the bow. Okay, now I know I don't want that obviously to go in towards the sign. I don't want to cover up the sign. It's going to cover it up a little bit. I'm okay with that. Right here on the, adorable. Absolutely perfect, just like that. Okay, so I know I'm covering 1, 2, 3, and 4 pipe cleaners with my sign. I'm going to put that in right away. Secure that before I secure our bow. And then in the end, if I really did need to, well, you'll see. If I really did need to cover up that pipe cleaner, let's say the bow just wasn't sitting, it was moving and it wasn't covering it up, I could take a little teeny tiny tack of glue and, just tack that in there so that the ribbon doesn't move. So this, I always say it, and I'll never not say it, this is the hardest part. Getting that ribbon, I'm sorry, that mesh. What are those? Pipe cleaners. Through the mesh and securing the sign. That went very easy. I bet the pipe cleaner knew I was going to say that, and so it wanted to cooperate. It usually doesn't go that easy. I'll flip it over in just a second, and we'll do the second one together. Just want to get that one secure. Okay. Again, making sure I'm covering those pipe cleaners. The pipe cleaners underneath, because I don't want to see. Okay, going through the mesh, right through. Got my hand underneath there, feeling for it, wiggling it around. Just, I can feel it's caught on, see, caught on one of those, just little thin pieces of that mesh. There we go. Get the second one in. So for the second one, I want to pull it, I'm kind of putting it in the Matte. Oh, that went easy. Look at that. See, all I got to do is say it's not going to happen. I'll show you in just a second. So I put the first one right through here, okay? Now, because that's where the pipe cleaner was, I put the second pipe cleaner right through there, but then kind of snuggled it all the way on the other side. Now, what I could have done, and I didn't even see that piece there, what I could have done is I could have taken this piece and come up through that hole and then just attached it perfectly. But I didn't realize that, and I wasn't having too much trouble. So usually when I'm having trouble, that's when I kind of flip it over and look for those little holes. That's what they're there for. Okay, that's what they're there for. They're there to help add your bow, add your sign, you know, help you balance if you need to. It's a little different with the 10 by 10 square. But see, now it's not coming off there, right? It's not coming off, right? At all. So we got it nice and secured. I'm going to leave those ribbons. I'm not going to touch them just yet. So I'm going to snuggle this in just a little tiny bit. Okay, and then we're going to add our bow right off to the side, kind of right over there. So this is the only one I'm worried about that could be seen. Let's go ahead and just tuck this under just in case. That way we're seeing the least amount if we do see it. Now here's where coordinating the pipe cleaner with the mesh really works in your favor. Okay, I chose green. I could have chose black, but because the top ribbon was green, I went with the green pipe cleaner. Now I don't always do that because the goal is to not see them, period. So I don't have to worry. Even if those neon green or neon yellow or whatever, orange, I'm going to make sure we don't see those, okay? So then I'm going to, again, take my outside, my leaves, not leaves, those, can't think of the word, put them on the outside so that I'm covering up that just a little tiny bit. I'm okay with that, just a little tiny bit. I can still see my clover, I can still see my lucky, and I got a little tiny piece here that we're going to make sure it gets kind of covered up. And then I might tack that down, I might. But our bow is going to go right here for placement. So I'm looking for the pipe cleaner to go right where I have it, and that means I'm actually going to be moving that. Now, typically if I'm putting something in, I'm not moving anything, right? I don't want to move anything. I don't want to shift, move anything. But in this case, I'm moving that ribbon because I got to put it right where that ribbon is. I guess I didn't talk nicely to these pipe cleaners. You're a good pipe cleaner. You're doing your good job. You're doing a good job. You're so cute and green. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, here, I am going to slip that little baby right through there because I don't want to have to go. I want it to stay right there. I don't want to have to take that, and I don't want to have to do that. So I'm going to take that ribbon, that pipe cleaner that I have pulled out here, and I'm going to slip it right through. Hard to maybe do if it's upside down. Hold on. I can see it this way. Sorry. Just know I'm looking for that. With my chunky little fingers. Okay. So now see, I have it. It was perfect. Now all I have to do is get that other one through here, and then I'm just going to, that's it. Okay, I'll show you in just a second. Just got to find the other one. Where'd it go? There we are. And then I'll shift it in just a second and put that bow back. Then I'm going to, there we go. See, nice and easy. That one went through. So now, okay, and I'm going to squish that bow. It's going to be fine. But now, see, I use that instead of having to grab that whole frame, and now it's perfectly attached, nice and secure. And then I just get to hide that, and it's wrapped right around that little tiny piece of the frame. Done. Perfect. Now it's a smushed bow, but we'll fix that in just a second. Here we go. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you purchased the kit, I hope that you enjoy the kit. This is definitely my favorite shamrock, definitely my favorite shamrock ribbon for sure. Where's this guy going? This guy's gonna go over here. This guy's gonna go over here. Here we go. Really cute. And then the very last thing I do, the very, very last thing, I'm not gonna have to touch that at all. Remember I said I was gonna maybe have to tack that in, but I'm not gonna have to do that at all. The last thing I do, sitting right here so that I don't have to mess with it when it gets on the door, and I'm taking its perfect little picture, is I just come around. Oh, we had a piece of, let me just make sure that comes off. Make sure all my ribbon tails are all facing out towards me. Oh, I got another one of those coming off the edge there. Taking off any excess. Making sure I see every single one of those ribbons. Here kind of looks funky, so we're going to make sure, pulling those, give them a little tug. Making sure they all look like they're not, you know, suction cupped. Give them a little life there. Make sure you can see every single one perfectly, perfectly. This is one of my favorites. Again, the watercolor sign itself. Also, I'm going to point out one thing, which you didn't even notice, and I shouldn't even point it out, but I'm going to point it out anyway. This ribbon, so I sold the kits, and in order for me to be able to have one to make, I was a little short on the ribbon because one of the ribbons, and this happens in our rolls, and sometimes I can catch it ahead of time, sometimes I just use it myself, but the roll itself, kind of like when the manufacturer is making them, there isn't enough for 10 yards, but they don't waste it, so they just like tack another piece on. Sometimes it drives me absolutely bonkers. When I'm making the kits, I try to make sure that I don't give that to you. I mean, I really try. My husband and I both, when we're packing up our ribbons, we'll just be one, you know, we'll sell one less kit if it means that you would get that piece. But one thing I want to show you, I actually used that one piece. I'm just going to show you where it ended up. And I don't know if you can see, but you see that ribbon right here. You see where it was pieced together? So I knew that it was there. I knew it was the very first piece I put in, actually. I think, I'm almost positive. I knew it was there, and I knew I wanted it to go on the outside. This is a tip for you if you're going to make your own, you know, you're buying rolls of ribbon, all that stuff. Excuse me. Don't just say, oh, I'm one short, I can't do it. Number one, if it's in a decent spot, put it on the outside. Okay? You can't even see it. You cannot see it at all. Or if you are completely short, remember I said sometimes the roll of mesh is short, right? And then you end up with like one short piece. That's okay. If the mesh ends up short and you don't have enough to do your 10-inch frame and your 14-inch frame, you're following this recipe, right? Put that one smaller piece on the top. Don't put it on the bottom because you need it full on the bottom. Put that smaller piece on the top. You see how you're not going to notice if that's small? You're not going to notice? That's number one for that tip. Number two, if you're one piece short on the ribbon, also put that on the top, and then you're going to put your bow over the top of it, and you're not even going to notice. Okay? You're not even going to notice. I would be a little bit more specific about where I put it. So if I was missing one here, I would notice. If I was missing one here, I would notice. So what I would do was shift my sign, right? Shift my sign so that the corner of that sign was now right here, and the bow could be shifted to right here, and I wouldn't have to put in this piece. You wouldn't notice. I have done that on several occasions. Right? The roll sometimes is just a little short. It's not my fault. It's not where I buy it from. It's the manufacturer from the factory, you know, and it's probably, they don't probably know or realize either when they're doing it. I'm sure they don't do it on purpose. I'm sure they're not doing it on purpose, but you know, it doesn't mean that, oh, I wasted now my other half of, you know, I can't use this. No, 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 no. Right? No, no, no. We're just going to still use it. We're going to use it in a different way. Y'all, I hope that you enjoyed. This is a little bit longer than I usually do. I hope you enjoyed all the tips here. Again, it's Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. I enjoy teaching you. I hope that that comes out in my teaching. I enjoy teaching you. I enjoy selling kits. I enjoy you sending me pictures of the kits that you make, or when you're putting reviews, you add your picture. I love that so much. It makes me so happy. I'm honored to teach you. I'm honored to be here and help you, kind of inspire you, push you along the way, be here for your creative needs. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to text us. Our text number is 810-498-2310. Also, if you're looking, if you didn't buy this as a kit and you want to be on our kit notifications, you want to make sure that you join our email list, you can go to www.don'tmissemails.com. It'll bring you right to the spot where you can sign up for our emails. You just put your email address in there. Don't put it here in the comments or anywhere in the chat. You want to make sure you go to that, www.don'tmissemails.com. No apostrophe, obviously, in the don't, just all letters. And you can sign up there. Y'all, it's been a pleasure. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy making. I enjoy selling our wreaths too. It has been a very great journey for me. I look forward to, you know, bringing you along in our journey. One last thing I'll leave you with, if you have any other questions or looking for any other things that we can help you with or provide, you can always go to Mel's Links. Like, my name is Melissa, M-E-L-S, Mel's Links with an S, M-E-L-S-L-I-N-K-S, melslinks.com. And they'll give you a wealth of links to help guide you, including our favorite suppliers, our favorite tools, our Etsy shop, our YouTube, our Facebook, all those things. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, y'all.